Greetings, guidance, love, and gratitude for choosing Dissected Podcast with Kae-C and Chuks. We need to talk about attachment theory. All right, we're going to be talking about controlling behaviour today. I'm looking forward to this one. Semi a continuation from the last episode talking about DV. So yeah, what I'm interested in getting into with you especially is kind of this idea that's always confused me. It's always made me think. It's always been weird. It's something I've heard over the years a lot. On my side, it's kind of women especially have this. Let me not say women. I'll say there are some women that have this impression that the way that men show how much they care, value, and love their partner is through controlling behavior, is through, and that controlling behavior can be displayed in many ways. You know, don't go out like this, don't go there, don't backchat me or I'll shot your box. Arguments, getting irate, physical, and emotions being uncontrollable. So lack of controlling themselves, leading to controlling the other person. So and it has always confused me because my version of love is the opposite, where it's about me being able to control myself and wanting to have the other person feel able to express themselves in their honest and free way, right? So what's your either views on that concept and what's your views on that concept?
I feel like that concept covers one specific area of domestic violence, or DV as you called it, because there are men or women who will use physical violence against another person for more reasons than just to control the behavior. So you put across, you're not wearing that skirt, it's too short, or I'll do this or I'll do that. I don't like your brethren, you need to lock them off and all that kind of stuff. So that's the verbal side of it. The physical side of it may be physically restraining somebody because you don't want them to, or they don't want them to leave the house. I'm not saying a female can't restrain a man, but a female may hide his phone so he don't know where the phone is or whatever the case may be. So she can then look for it. That's a very different scenario to a man saying to a woman, "Where's my dinner? You ain't cooked my dinner," I'm boxing her down. Or, the house ain't clean, what you've been doing all day, I'm boxing her down. Or another scenario may be just more on a narcissistic side, where it's very calculated. People using that scenario to kind of orchestrate a situation. A very popular one seems to be to pick an argument right before they want to go out, so that it's like they don't have to answer their phone or that kind of scenario. So I know I want to touch road with the man them, or I know I want to go out with the girl, so I'm going to pick an argument over something, blow it all out of proportion, walk out the door and be like, "Bah, I'm going about my business." And then when the phone's ringing off like 2, 3 in the morning, "Where are you?" The person's not answering the phone because I don't have to answer to you. You disrespected me or whatever. So there are different areas different styles. It's a big shame just even being able to say that. But with the controlling element, I feel that there are some people who feel validated by that element of being controlled by somebody else. I believe it has more to do with childhood, when people value that kind of control. Maybe in their childhood they were very controlled. It has a bit to do with like attachment theory, which is probably a really good topic for us to do moving forward.
Yep.
But in a nutshell, there are 4 attachment styles. You have, and I'm probably going to forget one now, but the securely attached person is somebody who's grown up with mum, dad, not necessarily mum and dad, but has grown up in a household with the balance of both parents. It could be co-parenting where one's not in the home, but they've got the balance. They're a secure child. They grow up feeling confident. They don't have any issues integrating in different situations. They can walk into any room, any place, anywhere, and just kind of spit in, and everything's cool. You have the dismissive or avoidant, which is somebody who is, as a child, they may have been left to their own devices quite a bit. So it's not like neglect. It could be neglect, but doesn't have to be. Right. But that child was very self-sufficient. It may have meant that at the age of 7 or 8, they were making their own microwave meals, or having to iron their own clothes, pretty much do the majority of things for themselves. So they become overly independent. They figure things out for themselves. They tend to have an issue accepting help even if it's offered, and also can shun away from compliments. It's just not the norm for them. They just crack on because as a young person growing up, they've just kind of been either left to grow themselves, or they've had quite an isolated childhood where they've been their own company. You look like you want to take that.
Yeah, I'm literally trying to, I'm just about to ask you, what's that one there called? Avoidant, yeah?
That one's called a dismissive. Dismissive avoidant.
Dismissive avoidant Chuks. Yeah, go on.
And me. Yeah.
Okay, go on.
You have the anxiously attached. They are somebody who kind of are the people pleaser. Their childhood was unsettled, and they may have felt the need as a child, or may not have felt like they belonged, were wanted, cared for. So it was maybe drawing pictures for people, or look at me, not paid them a lot of attention. In class, they probably just kind of were there, but not really there. They didn't put their hand up to answer a question, but if they were asked, they may, just like the wallflower kind of person. Then they kind of develop a need to be seen. And so
be accepted even.
Right. So they overcompensate. They're the person that if you say, oh, I had a dodgy weekend, you know, my car, oh, you should have called me, or oh, my washing machine broke down. Oh, I'll wash your clothes for you. Like literally, they're just ready to just do anything and everything for that acceptance. The thing about those people are when they feel rejected, because personally, someone like that to me is overbearing. So I would maybe distance myself because I don't want them to be giving me things and doing all that kind of thing as a dismissive person. I don't want all of that. I just want you to like be over there and let me do my thing over here. They can see that as rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And what they can then do is flip it around. And in instances where you have accepted their kindness, they will then use that as ammunition and go and tell other people about it. I did that for her and she's doing this, or I did that. And, you know, so it is a little bit.
Okay, so why would they do that?
Because they have felt rejection as a child.
Right.
So they're overcompensating in adult life to
Oh, so
be
it's almost
accepted.
like spite then, almost like, or like a punch
Yeah,
back. Okay.
yeah, right. So then they're not accepting of the rejection.
Right.
As far as they're concerned, you know, I drove you here, I've done this for you, I've done that for you. They put all these things on your plate and said, here, take. And then if you take it and you want a moment of space, peace, don't include them in something, they will see that as rejection. And, you know, yeah. And then the fourth person is disorganized attached, who in childhood, unfortunately, tends to have experienced quite a high level of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Be that physical, emotional, tends to be more physical, but they are the ones who do the push and pull in adult life. So as a child, and when I say abuse, it's the mental as well, because the scenario may be the child has done something wrong, they get licks, and then the mum or the dad is like, just be quiet, just hush, or they feel a bit of guilt and they give them a hug and say, and that child may not want to be hugged in that moment because you've just smacked them or you've just done whatever. They want their space, but it's almost like they're being forced to accept the apology that they're not ready for or don't really.
And they're forced to. Then it's all they're forced to accept, and in ignoring of the boundaries of for themselves. So they don't have this level of control of their own physical space or their physical body even. That makes sense. Okay, go on. Sorry, man. Yeah.
So that's all right. And so in adulthood, they do the push and pull in relationships. If it's a romantic relationship, they will be all in 1 minute, and then not be answering their phone the next. When that person is done ringing off their phone and thinks, sure, I'm going to leave them, they may then initiate a conversation and make up an excuse as to why they didn't answer their phone to call that person in. They want love, they want attention, they want to feel wanted, but when they get that, they push it away. When it's gone, they miss it, so they want it back again, and it's a constant tug of war, push and pull, and disorganized attached. So, yeah, we we were supposed to be
I know.
about.
I'm thinking right about to change the name of the book. Change the name of them.
For real.
Like in my brain quickly.
Yeah, I went back to work for a minute.
That's funny, but that was good though. It's important piece of information for me anyway, and I'm sure loads of other people will benefit from that categorization. Categorize.
It certainly helped me because when I understood what attachment style I have, it was like, wow, okay, so there are reasons for it. And it helped me to kind of understand why I behave certain ways in certain situations. For example, a dismissive side of me is if somebody's to approach me while I'm out, for example, or try and make conversation, I'm always the one to shut it down, especially if it's And it's weird because I do get women talk to me when I'm out, not like in a romantic way, but
I hear you. Just
if a
someone actually
man,
just tried to be your friend.
God forbid,
You know what I mean?
but I am that person that if I'm offered a drink, I hardly ever say yes. If I'm asked to dance, I hardly ever say, like, I just haven't got time for it. People ask me, oh, so where classic, where do you come from, or what area are you from? And I tell them, like, I'm from outer space, like, straight. That's my answer. Like, you don't need to know where I live from. Or yeah, just like I'll just give a random question and they'll just be like, sometimes they get the message, a lot of the time they don't.
Yeah.
Definitely a dismissive trait. And so I didn't really clock what I was doing until I researched it because of a child that I was working with at school. And she would do this thing where one day it's, oh, miss, look at my work. I drew this picture for you, blah, blah, blah. And then the next day she's like got her elbow in the middle of the table, like turning her back to me. Body language is just like, I don't want you here. She's telling me I don't want you here. And I'm like, but we were brethren yesterday.
Yeah.
She's just not having, no, I
You
don't
say
want you here.
she held a mirror straight up to you.
Trust me, dealt with me wicked. I'm like, okay. But the minute I go and sit with another child and go and start helping them, she will find herself out of the seat and come over to where I am, and want me to come back to where. So it is that push and pull. Obviously, the disorganized attachment style that I mentioned earlier.
Can I ask you something?
But we went into. Go ahead.
Before we go somewhere else, right? When you was talking about these, say again.
Back to where we were supposed to be.
Not even. We're staying right where we're there. This is very interesting. So what came to my mind when you was talking about the attachment styles is how different attachment styles meeting each other and interacting with each other, or even being in a relationship with each other, which is kind of what you was just kind of touching on there with the young person you was working with. So when you have a dismissive detachment, or a dismissive attachment style, and they come into contact with, let's say, this push-pull attachment style, somebody who I'm hearing what you're saying as somebody who requires a lot of contact,
validation,
a lot of validation, but maybe is, and I'm hearing it like, okay, that person requires a lot of validation, but they hate the fact that they require this validation, so they enjoy it when it's happening, but then until they don't enjoy it anymore, and then they push it away, sabotage the connection, and then want it back, and then these kind of things. So when that person comes into contact with a dismissive, avoidant person who has no qualms about move from next to me, really. If it's that, if that's the mode right now, just move from next to me. I'm not even on it like that. That's got to create a painful experience for both, I suppose. The dismissive avoidance is going to feel some level of pain because this person is in their moment where they want, this avoidant person is going to feel like their boundaries are not being respected, unsafe maybe in some situations if the dynamic permits, or the situation or the scenario permits. And then the push-pull person is going to feel pain. The rejection that you were talking about, that is something that happens a lot, I think. And I probably know I probably caused a bag of rejection in my time. Not necessarily always romantic, but just in general. So I just would love to know what your, not necessarily your experience, but if there is any kind of clarity you can give maybe to how differing attachment styles impacting each other can express itself. And then maybe, I don't know if you have any, I don't know, tips maybe that you've experienced from your dismissive avoidant point of view. Maybe that can help me from my dismissive avoidant point of view to not to not hurt people and also allow me to kind of still be able to run them when I need to run them.
I think the important thing about understanding what attachment style you are is that you can work on changing it. So
Okay.
if you see it as an issue, then you can work to become more secure. You'll also find that different people bring different things out of you, which is something I've mentioned before. And in addition to that, the example that you gave of the anxiously attached with the dismissive, there's two ways that can go.
Okay.
And if I speak from my own experience, I can understand that I'm dismissive and that I wouldn't say I'm a people person. In my profession, I'm around people, but I'm around them until I go home. And when I go home, I'm in my bubble and I'm good. And you know, if it's just that, it's just that. The experience that I had with an anxiously attached person was in a working environment.
Right.
And this person almost jumped on me from day one. And we did have a lot in common. Like, they asked me where I was from. I'm like, Northwest London. Oh yeah, I used to live around there, blah, blah, blah. Do you know this school? Do you know that? Okay, cool. Then other conversations about parents and her relationship with her mum and other things that we had in common then led her to ask me if I wanted to come round to hers for dinner one evening. And she was always talking about her kids and I was always talking about mine. So she's like, oh, we'll get the kids together, we'll get a pizza and blah, blah, blah. So school holidays was approaching and we met up. And what then happened was she would repeatedly ask me to come round. Now, I'm a person who's very respectful of people's relationships. And the first time I was there, we had met up straight after school. So I'm at her house from about 4:30. She's cooking and doing her thing while I'm talking to her in the kitchen. The kids are doing what they're doing. And my daughter's bedtime at the time was 7:30. So I'd already told her from time, I need to leave at 7. 7 o'clock rolls around. She's like, oh, just let them have an ice lolly, you know, blah, blah, blah. 8 o'clock rolls around. Her husband comes through the door.
To do that.
8 o'clock comes, husband's through the door from work. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not supposed to be there anymore because he's coming from work. This is now your family time. This is his time with his children before they go to bed. Like, this is how I'm seeing it. It may not be the way that household works, but I shouldn't be here. It's one thing me kind of being introduced. Oh, this is blah, blah, who I work with. And yeah, nice to meet you. Heard a lot about you, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm gone out the door. But what then happened was it was almost like she was creating scenarios to make us stay longer. Like, oh, let them just have one more go on the game. And, oh, you know, I've just put a crumble in the... And it was just like, I felt claustrophobic.
Yeah.
So I've left now and I've said to myself, I ain't going back there. Straight up. I know, like, my energy needed protecting at that point.
Yeah.
What then happened was a birthday or something came up. I couldn't really say no. Went round again. And on this occasion, when I'm ready to go, my car keys have gone missing. Yeah. So I couldn't leave. And it got to the point where I was getting very agitated because I'm now feeling like I'm being controlled in this situation. That's not good.
Mm-hmm.
My keys would materialize after about 45 minutes when I believe she saw I was getting visibly agitated.
Of
They
course.
ended up
Too
being
much.
down the front, side of the sofa. But in the meantime, obviously, because we work together, she's doing things like buying me, like she came in one day and I said, "Oh, your perfume smells nice." She bought me a gift bag with the perfume, the nail polish. Like this must have been like an £85. Like I just said your things smell nice. Like I didn't say it smelled nice for me, just
Yeah.
anyway, them kind of things.
This
So
is, those are the things where I'm like, well, some people would have just been like, wow, that's nice. Thank you.
nah, that's too much. That's
Why is
too
it too much?
much.
Why is it the amount it costs?
It's the
If it
amount.
was something, if she come to you and said to you, "Wow, I saw it on a deal for £20,"
Nah,
would that have made a difference?
no.
Why not?
Because I don't give materially. I give, I don't know, in helpful ways.
But maybe
So
you thought that was helpful. Is what I'm
no,
trying to get to. Why do you think she gave it to you?
because she is an anxiously attached person and she wanted to create, and it's almost like creating an environment where I would feel
Oh,
obligated to
okay.
remain in the friendship. That's what it is.
I dissected.
Right. So what then happened was there was gifts and there was this and there was that. And um it's almost like when I was trying to give back, like it was her son's birthday, I bought him a gift. She said she didn't want to take the gift unless I was coming round the house. Because at this point now, she's
Okay.
taken,
So
yeah,
now she just showed that you were right.
yeah,
Confirmation bias
100%.
has been hit right here.
So what I did was I went to the house and I left it outside under the bush, and I messaged her and I said, "I've left your son's present there. Um, I'm sorry, I can't stay for cake and all the rest of it, but I really want him to have the gift. My children have chosen it for him, so it's there when you get in." Um, she then responded with, "He's not opening it if you're not there." So I'm just like, nah, this is some next level behavior. But this is what I mean. And we spoke previously about the way people respond in different situations, and you don't know why people behave in ways that they do or how much control they actually have of it. Because there was obviously something about her childhood and about her attachment style that was causing her to behave in such a, I would say, go as far as to say, desperate way to keep me close or whatever it is she was trying to do. Are you serious? And as a detached person, I was offending her unintentionally because of how I've been brought up and the experiences that I've had. So the answer to your question is there is going to be clashing and loggerheads and misunderstandings just because we are who we are.